by Chris Jordan prevents the boundary, but the batsman will get back for 2. Avishka moves on to 3, 12 for 1. Yeah, it's a very nice jacket.
Thank you very much. It was brand new today, so
First wear. Debut.
Yeah,
very good.
Debut.
It's not too chilly though. Are you feeling good?
It's a very lightweight jacket.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
It's one of those style ones.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. It's all catwalk with Alex Hartley over here. David Willey, in he comes again. Back of a length, squares up the batsman once more. This time the ball goes just fine towards the third region, and they take a single. 13 for 1 now after 2.4. Right, back to my original question.
Yeah, you know what? I've never dressed up going to a cricket game. I've never been in fancy dress. I have gone to Chester Zoo dressed as an elephant before, though.
Right, I feel like I need to hear more about this.
Yeah, I lost a bet on the podcast that me and Kate Cross host.
In comes Willey, and that ball's just been driven down the ground. Can't quite beat mid-on, so no run. Another dot ball, building some pressure here. 13 for 1 after 2.5. Right, you lost a bet. What was the bet, first of all?
Yeah, that's probably a better question. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But the loser had to do something that the other person asked. And I love the zoo. So Crossy bought me an elephant outfit, an inflatable elephant outfit, and I had to go round Chester Zoo dressed as an elephant.
Outstanding. David Willey in once again, this time going down the leg side. That has been given a wide by the umpire. That's an easy call for any umpire. Score moves on to 14 for 1 after 2.5. Now, is this a story we can hear about on the latest addition to the BBC Sounds family, podcast family?
It is indeed No Balls, the cricket podcast. You can catch up and hear it on BBC Sounds. So I advise you go and check it out because I look horrendous dressed as an elephant. But it was great fun.
Outstanding. I've got to find that photo at some point. David Willey in once again, this time straying into the pads. There's a big appeal for LBW. It looked like it was going down leg for me. The England fielders were very interested. I have to say David Willey wasn't particularly interested, and neither was the umpire. As Morgan's having a little chat with Willey about the review, and he reviewed with about 5 seconds left on the timer. I have to say though, Alex, it didn't look like he really wanted to. It was kind of a reluctant review, but the review has been taken.
TV umpire to director, we've got a review for LBW. It's a fair delivery. The original decision was not out. Could I move to front on spin, please?
So we're just going to have a look at the front on of this delivery. Reminder, it looked very much like it was missing leg.
Still building ultra-red.
Oh.
Okay, if you rock and roll that for me, please.
That's the voice of third umpire Martin
Can we
Saggers.
move on to ultra edge, please? Okay, ball's next to the bat. There's a gap between bat and ball. Flat line until it hits the pad. Okay, move to ball tracking when available, please. Okay, ball tracking, pitching in line, impact in line, umpire's call is not out. I'll go back on field to Alex, please. Alex, if you stay with your original decision of not out, you're on screen now.
Well, there we go. It was an umpire's call after all. There's such a fine margin there as well, Alex, because it was right at the top of leg stump, just flicking that bail. A bit like that delivery from the women's test. I don't know if you recall this beautiful away swinging ball that hit literally the top of off bail. It was extraordinary.
From Catherine Brunt,
From
it was.
Catherine Brunt,
yeah, very good delivery.
Yeah, just that reminded me of that, really, that dismissal. Just how close to the top of the bill it was. Right. We shall continue now. Sam Curran in now. Starts with a short ball. Has been swatted into the leg side, but the fielder in the deep is perfectly placed and just a single taken. It'll be slightly hard done by Avishka. They really got a hold of it, but it just found the fielder in the deep. 15 for 1 after 3 overs. That was yes, indeed. 16 for 1, I beg your pardon, after 3.1 overs.
I got a bit confused then as well.
Yeah.
Because the review at the end of the over.
England retained their review as well there because of the umpire's call.
It must always feel good as an umpire to know that you've got it right.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, umpires claim that, well, I'm right.
I would be so smug. I'd be unbearable. Right then, in comes Sam Curran from wide of the crease this time, a bit wide, and an inventive shot there. It's going over to the fine leg region. The fielder from deep square will run round and send the ball back in. That was a very clever shot from Avishka Fernando. Just stepped outside his off stump and just flicked it into the leg side. And just a reminder that you can watch the game tonight on BBC Two live, as well as seeing video clips on the BBC Sport website and app. So that football-style run-out is available for you to see now on the website. And I highly recommend it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. 18 for 1 after 3.2 overs. Sam Curran from wide of the crease once more. Short ball has been smashed high up in the air by Avishka Fernando. He doesn't have the distance, and the catch has been taken in the deep pretty comfortably, it has to be said. And well, for someone who's looking quite good, that's a disappointing shot. Sam Curran with the breakthrough, sticking to his plan, and an excellent catch in the deep by Liam Livingstone. Sri Lanka 18 for 2 after 3.3 overs.
Yeah, picking the only man out on the deep leg side boundary. Liam Livingstone, I have to say, he was very, very casual about that catch, but he took it, probably just had to crouch down, simple catch, but disappointing batting from Fernando there.
Yeah, most definitely. He'll be very annoyed with himself. That's twice in that over he's managed to pick out Liam Livingstone in the leg side airily on that occasion. Almost felt like a deliberate trap there from England, really. They expected him to go after it with Sam Curran's sort of adjusted lengths and mixing up of the pace. Like it's fair game that he might actually miscue it.
Yeah, so the first couple of overs that Curran's bowled, he's tried to swing the ball and he's bowled really nice and full, and that ball was banged in a short ball, and he's tried to take it on and he's just hooked it around the corner, and Liam Livingstone is just behind square on the deep square leg boundary, and it's literally gone straight to him.
Yeah, we'll be very disappointed with that. Avishka Fernando, so looking good. Already showing glimpses of that form that he showed in the LPL, the Lanka Premier League earlier this year. That's seen him called up now then. Kusal Perera in the middle is going to be joined by Kusal Mendis. So all the Kusals in the middle here in Cardiff today. Mendis had a terrific time in the LPL this year. Quite outstanding return. And I believe he's going to face up. 18 for 2. In comes Sam Curran. Slightly short delivery to Mendis. He just flicks that into the leg side, and he's off the mark off his first ball. Looking a lot more comfortable than he did yesterday. None of the Sri Lankan batsmen really managed to get away yesterday, apart from Dasun Shanaka, who got 50 from 44. A nice counter-attacking innings at the end, just giving Sri Lanka a bit of hope with that 129 total. Of course, it wasn't particularly testing for England. They knocked it off with 8 wickets to spare. So strong is this England team. Right now then, Curran steaming in. He bowls another back of a length delivery and just cramping Perera for room. He just pushes to mid-on for no run. 19 for 2.
Yeah, it was just a shame yesterday that Sri Lanka just kept losing consistent wickets. They just looked like they'd built a little platform for themselves, and then they'd lose another wicket, and that's exactly what we've seen here today in the first half of this power play.
They've been very, very consistent, have England just putting pressure on the Sri Lankans, and in comes Curran once again. This time Perera gets on the front foot and just pushes to the backward point fielder. There is no run, so after 4 overs, Sri Lanka 19 for 2. Now, there's one other match in the world that's happening right now that I'm going to be honest with you, Alex Hartley. It's kind of dividing my attention a little bit. It's the final of the Pakistan Super League over in Abu Dhabi. The match is between the Multan Sultans and the Peshawar Zalmi, and it's a run fest. It looks like it's going to be a run fest anyway, as Multan currently on 180 from their first 18 overs. Huge total, of course, and it's not been the easiest pitch to bat on that Abu Dhabi wicket. We've seen a couple of big totals, but mostly low-scoring games. No English investment in that tournament right now, but they'll keep an eye on it because a lot of these Pakistani players are going to be in England in a couple of weeks. Of course, we'll bring you all that action here on BBC TMS. Kusal Mendis on strike as David Willey just ambles in. Just good length there from Willey. He's just been defended into the offside for no run. 19 for 2.
Yeah, they've been impressive so far today, England. They've really stuck to their plans, trying to get this ball to swing a little bit. Just a tiny bit of shape there from Willey, just with the arm coming back into the right-hander.
5 overs in, and it's still swinging a little bit for him. It tends to disappear a little bit here. The swing just goes away here at Cardiff. Kusal Mendis on strike. Still a slip in place as Willey in. Full delivery. It's been driven nicely, but only as far as mid-off. And Jordan firmly behind it. No run scored. Pressure building here from England. 19 for 2 Sri Lanka after 4.2. Not the most fruitful power play.
Yeah, and not the best position for Sri Lanka to be in here, because they know they need to accelerate, but they also know if they lose another wicket, you lose 3 wickets in the power play, you are most likely to lose the game of cricket as well.
And the same thing happened yesterday as well for Sri Lanka, of course, as Willey in once again. Fuller this time, driven nicely by Kusal Mendis, who finds the gap in the covers this time. Chris Jordan in pursuit, and he gets there, gets the ball back, and it will just be 2 to the Sri Lankan batsman. We'll just be grateful to get that rotation of strike going. 21 for 2 after 4.3. Kusal Mendis on 3 off 4. Kusal Perera 6 off 9. Yeah, they kind of fell away early yesterday as well, Alex. You saw those wickets tumble in the power play, and we all know that statistic: 3 wickets in the power play, and it's pretty much game over at that point. Sri Lanka, there's already a big gulf between these two teams. Got to find a way to even the odds. In comes Willey, and this time a gorgeous delivery, just leaves Mendis with that swing, as discussed by Alex Hartley, leaving the batsman through to the keeper, no run.
Yeah, well bowled that from David Willey. The delivery before, he just went a little bit fuller outside the off stump. There was no shape through the air for him. Therefore, the batter was able to drive the ball through the covers. But that one there, it was just held back a touch more. The ball moving in the air and beating the bat.
Some quality seam bowling here at Sophia Gardens from David Willey as he comes in once more, this time slightly back of a length, and Kusal Mendis lining up to pull it, ended up checking his shot and pushing the ball to mid-on for no run. Sri Lankan batsmen, well, haven't quite found their rhythm yet on this tour to England. Of course, in years previous, Alex, they would have had many years and so much time and several games against counties to warm themselves up, but the modern game doesn't allow that anymore.
COVID doesn't allow that anymore.
Well, there's that too. There's that too. 21 for 2. 1 delivery to come in the 5th over. In comes David Willey. No slip anymore. It's a fuller ball, again defended back to him. He does his own fielding very slickly. That is 5 overs complete. 21 for 2 after 5. Kusal Perera on 6 off 9 deliveries. Kusal Mendis on 3 off 7. 2 wickets to fall in the power play. England very much in the driver's seat. After a few more thoughts from you, Alex Hartley, you'll be joined by the very handsome Henry Moran.
Well, what a treat. I thought I was off as well, but I get an over with Henry, so my partner in crime is back. But yeah, not the best start for Sri Lanka, losing those 2 early wickets. The run out from Sam Curran and the shorter ball from Sam Curran, caught in the deep by Liam Livingstone. Sri Lanka not in a great position again this evening.
No, Alex, 21 for 2 after 5 doesn't feel to me necessarily like the sort of power play that suggests massive score.
No, it doesn't. And we saw yesterday the wicket was a bit slow, but England were able to go about their batting innings and take their time, because Sri Lanka didn't score all that many runs with the bat, but thought they'd come out today and try and build that platform, but that run out hasn't helped early on.
Here comes Chris Jordan. He's running in towards us, and just when he was ready, Perera pulls away and says, hold on a moment, something's moving.
I'll tell you what it was.
What was it?
You have one guess, actually.
Was it a steward?
It was a steward, yeah. Right. How many times at a cricket ground, and how many times do stewards get told to stay still?
A high vis is great unless you're in front of the side screen. When it is problematic. Jordan then, who took all those catches yesterday, is moving into bowl to the left-handed Perera, who swings and misses, and through to the gloves of Jonny Bairstow it goes. Sri Lanka remain at 21 for 2. The old adage is always, if you lose 3 wickets in a power play, you very rarely win the game. If you lose 2, it's not great. It's particularly not great if you've got 21 on the board.
No. Is that stat factual, like my full toss stat, or is that just a rumour?
There is more evidence for the one I've delivered than the one that you trot out on a regular basis. About 30% of full tosses leading to wickets.
33%.
Is that right? Perera then coming in, waiting, I should say, for Chris Jordan, who's bowling on the hips of the batsman. He'll pick up a single into the leg side. Perera moves on to 7 from 11, and the score 22 for 2. We've got 4 balls left of the power play. This second match in 2 days here at Cardiff, with England winning by 8 wickets yesterday. There's build-up towards the T20 World Cup. It'll be on the horizon. You know all about these sort of build-ups to major events. Ahead of that World Cup you won in 2017, was there that sense 6 months out that every game had a little bit more on it?
Yeah, you're playing for selection. You want to be in that World Cup squad, and every single game you play and every single training session you do, you're building up as a unit to play in that World Cup.
Every delivery matters. Here comes Jordan again. Kusal Mendis on strike, whipping the ball into the leg side. Nicely struck. There's work to do in the deep for Livingstone, who's already taken a catch today and fields well. to prevent the second run. Mendis on to 4. It's 23 for 2. And Sri Lanka, having won the toss, have just 3 balls left of the power play and not many runs on the board.
No, they not had the best of start. The run out from Sam Curran, it was the good old right boot onto the stumps, so that didn't help things. And then a short ball from Sam Curran, caught in the deep by Liam Livingstone. It was very well bowled.
Jordan again, round the wicket. And that's hit down the ground. That's a nice connection. It could bring the first boundary of the evening. Will it be? Well, there's a little bit of a collision between Willey and the boundary sponge in the far distance. And I think he's just about hauled it in. We'll have a little look. The Sri Lanka flags are flying, but it might not yet be the first boundary of the evening. Willey running round, and I think he has just about saved it. It's one of those we'll look at a lot, Alex, but my instinct is he's probably stopped that from hitting the ropes.
Yeah, no, he stopped that. Bit like Mark Wood earlier on. Flicked back in from Willey.
This is where the invention that we discussed during the women's test match, which is one of the greats.
Do you know what? This is going to change cricket.
It's expensive, but it's good. Here comes Jordan, and that's nicely flicked away, but straight to the hands of Adil Rashid, waiting at short fine leg, so there won't be a boundary there. 26 for 2 with the ball left of the 6th over. The idea came from former England international Rosalie Fairbairn, and we had one of these incidents where there was a collision between fielder and boundary, and it took forever. And like we have zinger bails, zinger boundaries. As soon as the boundary is made contact with, either by ball or person, they light up, so you know exactly when it happened.
I think it just makes so much sense.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Can't be that expensive.
I don't know.
It's a bit more in your electricity bill.
It might be a little bit. But it would save all those replays. Right, final ball of the power play over. And 26 for 2 is the Sri Lanka score. Mendis is on 4 from 8, waiting for Chris Jordan, who's running in. It's quick, flying through to Jonny Bairstow as an appeal, and Bairstow likes it. Less interest from umpire Burns, who just shakes his head and wanders away at the end of the over. But the power play concludes with Sri Lanka 26 for 2, without a boundary having been scored. Alex Hartley is departing. And the highlights package that's being shown on our monitors of this power play, well, it's got Sam Curran kicking the stumps down with all the style, and actually slightly more attacking intent, arguably, than the England football team have shown so far during the Euros. And then another wicket to have fallen into the hands of Liam Livingstone as Ian Bell, Ashes winner, comes and joins the fun. I can't remember a T20 with 6 overs that has seen no boundaries scored.
No, I think England have been outstanding. They bowled straight, but when I'm watching Sri Lanka at the minute, I just remember the great players in Sangakkara, how they used to move around the crease and create the angles. And I just feel at the moment they're making it a little bit easy for England because they are bowling straight, but you've got to put pressure back on top-notch bowlers by creating your own angle. And I just feel like they're not doing that at the minute. They're just waiting. Again, that dismissal caught deep long on was a bit of a, close your eyes and swing, where you can create angles against these guys and try and put them under a bit of pressure.
I remind you can watch this game live on BBC Two this evening, as Liam Livingstone takes the ball and comes in around the wicket to start a new over. Punched into the ground, beats extra cover and Eoin Morgan, but running around to collect is Jordan to prevent anything more than just a single. There's a collision between the keeper and non-striking batsman, but 27 for 2 reads the scoreboard. Interesting decision this, to bring on Liam Livingstone right out of the power play over. He got the wicket of Kusal Mendis yesterday, LBW, and he's an awkward bowler to face. Bit of off spin, bit of leg spin.
Yeah, he's a competitor as well, so he likes getting in the contest. I think as well it's smart because, this is obviously a part-time bowler. You've got your gun bowler in Rashid that they're still holding up their sleeve, so getting another over out the way, again, is brilliant captaincy.
Livingstone over the wicket now, drops it a little bit short, but it skips on to Kusal Mendis, who can't do much with it other than punch it back to the bowler.
The nice thing is he's putting the ball back in their court, take an option against this guy.
Livingstone drops it short again, and deep in the crease, Mendis works the ball behind square for 1. 28 for 2. As a batting side here, what point do you start thinking we've got to get on with it? Are you reaching panic stations at this point?
Not just yet. I've got to create a partnership, really.
Livingstone in again. That's in the air, but will avoid the fielder at backward point. 1 run is all it'll be as Sam Curran runs in front of that bank of supporters and slings in the throw above the stumps. 29 for 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's the partnership. As soon as you get a partnership going, it's amazing how other things can build quickly off the back of that, but getting one started is the hardest thing.
Livingstone moving in. Oh, and just for a moment, something else has been spotted that is distracting things. I don't know what it is down below us. Well, there is a gentleman wearing a very loud orange top that he's actually taking off at the moment, which might have been a bit of a distraction. As Livingstone tosses the ball from one hand to the other in his long sleeves, 23 on his back, and he's moving in to bowl, tossed up, driven into the ground, and a good tumbling, diving stop from Livingstone off his own bowling prevents the run. One ball left of the 7th over, 29 for 2, Sri Lanka having won the toss and elected to bat first. Livingstone in again to conclude the over, dropped very short, hammered into the ground, but there's Eoin Morgan waiting at mid-wicket, and the over ends with a dot ball. Another frustrating over goes by with just 3 runs scored from it. And Sri Lanka 29 for 2 after 7.
Yeah, another good over from Livingstone, and how quickly he's bowled that. Again, that's the other thing as well as a batsman. You've got to try and play at your tempo. Even there, Livingstone's trying to rush them, get through this over as quick as he can. And you've got to be able to slow those spinners down. Otherwise, like I said, that over's come and gone so quickly. And it's just building the pressure again on Sri Lanka. And like you said at the moment, and also this ground as well, it's funny, there's big corners here. It's big square, big corners. So there's lots of twos out there. And Sri Lanka, there's been a lot of dots rather than hitting the pockets. A lot of coaches talk about hitting the pockets, hit over extra cover, hit over mid-wicket. It doesn't have to be 6s and 4s, but there's a lot of space out there to use, and they're not doing that as well as they possibly could.
Here comes Mark Wood into the attack. We wondered, before we saw the team news, Belly, whether we'd see Mark Wood 2 days running. He's a bowler whose workload is managed, but he is playing for the 2nd day running, and that's a massive bonus for the crowd that's in, because he's a thrilling bowler to watch. He's sprinting towards us as if his life depends on it. He's running in now, around the wicket, and bowls quickly into the pads of Perera. Will pick up 1 run, but nothing more. A loosener from Mark Wood at 88 miles an hour, 30 for 2.
Yeah, it is great to see, isn't it? Again, that run-up now that he charged it. I remember him, when I played with him, that short run-up. Now it's that show back to our long run-up charging in, and it looks like it's going to be fast, especially from the batter's end there. I bet he's thinking, oh my God, it's coming down now. But I think it's great to see, isn't it? Him putting back-to-back games as well. Even the Test match, I thought they'd bring Ollie Stone in, they'd rest Wood, but actually to see him stacking up games now is brilliant for English fans. And obviously, again, we know with an Ashes winter around the corner, I think he's a real important part of that squad going down under. And the more he can play, the better chance we've got.
Yeah, you look across all the formats now with Mark Wood and how important a cog he is in the England bowling machine. He's got the ball in hand now. He's going to bowl right arm over to Kusal Mendis, who has 5 from 13, and Wood sprinting in. The crowd revved up as well. Wood in, bowls, wild swing that's going to bring, well, just the 1 run, because some really good work from Dawid Malan, which is applauded by those just in the crowd behind him. He ran round to deep third, picked up and prevented 4 runs. It was a big swing, and he almost got the boundary for it.
Yeah, it was a huge swing. I mean, England have done really well. Again, they've got fine leg, third man really fine, short, straight here. And wide square boundaries. So again, those nicks there, they cut them off, and the ball that should go to his right-hand side there would be a bad delivery. It'd be width, and England are obviously trying to bowl as straight as they can. So again, tactically very good.
Wood turns at the end of his mark, runs in now. Round the wicket to the left-hander, bowls quickly. Again, it's whipped round the corner, and Malan's got more work to do, and he picks up cleanly with just 1 more run added. Wood cranking it up, 91 miles an hour now.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see, isn't it? I mean, again, been lucky enough to play with Wood. He's a great character, but again, when you've got someone of genuine pace, and then when Jofra's back in as well, those two playing together, I mean, that is, imagine from a captaincy point of view, Morgan having a world-class leg spinner in Rashid, and then 2 genuine fast bowlers is a perfect scenario to be in this format, or any format, but this format in particular.
32 for 2 is the score, midway through the 8th over. Perera on 13, and Mendis on strike on 6 as Wood runs in from the far end. Again, it's quick, it's in the air, and it's going to beat the fielder at backward point, running down towards the boundary, and it is 4 runs, the first of the innings.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. That was the first ball, actually, we can think of. It's width. So, again, you'd expect
Thank you very much indeed, Eleanor Aldroyd, and welcome to listeners on 5 Live Sports as you join us with Sri Lanka 36 for 2 with a couple of balls left of the 8th over. Sri Lanka winning the toss, electing to have a bat first, as they did last night. And we've just seen the first boundary of the innings. You seldom see that in a T20 match. 8th over until the first boundary is struck. But this innings and this partnership between Mendis and Perera is showing signs of a little bit of a recovery. Mark Wood running in from the far end, and that's a quick ball that flashes past the top of off stump at 92 miles an hour. Mendis looks at the pitch, looks at Wood, and I don't think he saw that ball. 36 for 2 is the score. Just a reminder, you can watch this game live on BBC Two now, or follow it here with us on 5 Live Sport and 5 Live Sports Extra. Ian Bell, Ashes winner is alongside me, and we've seen a boundary at last, but this has been England so far that have dominated.
They've been brilliant. They just haven't let Sri Lanka go at all. They've been very straight, apart from that boundary delivery that Wood bowled. We've had the first bit of width we've seen so far. They've been brilliant.
Here comes Wood again, sprinting in, right arm over to Bolton. Mendis, the right-hander, in the air, flies down towards deep third, where Malan will pick up, and they have started swinging a little bit harder in the last couple of overs. 8 gone, 37 for 2. If you missed it earlier, the team news that we got is a couple of changes for England. Chris Wokes, who's barely played for England in the last 6 months or so, out of the side, having played yesterday. He's been replaced by David Willey, and Joss Buttler has a calf strain, so in comes Sam Billings. Jonny Bairstow is wearing the gloves, and England looking to try and continue the momentum that they showed in that game yesterday. The challenge is going to be to ensure that once they get this run of white ball cricket going, any momentum that they get building into the autumn of the T20 World Cup, they can know exactly what their best lineup is and continue building towards that tournament. This is clipped into the leg side off the bowling of Liam Livingstone, but Eoin Morgan is there. It's a huge winter coming up, even ahead of the Ashes.
Oh, absolutely. Well, in all formats, isn't it? Particularly T20 and Test match cricket.
Here comes Livingstone. That's chipped away nicely. It's a good-looking shot inside out, and it's going to bring a boundary. Mendis gave himself room and lofted it away over extra cover. 4 runs, and 4 really good-looking runs as well. 41 for 2.
And that's what we talked about, hitting pockets. It doesn't have to be all swinging off your feet, trying to hit it out the ground. Like you said, we think of the great Sri Lankan players, the Sangakaras, Mahalas. They would do that constantly and putting bowlers under pressure, whether that's a seamer or a spinner.
Livingstone will have to evaluate his plans as he moves into bowl to Mendis, deep in the crease, looking for that single into the leg side, but Morgan will pick up with the floodlights shining, just starting to create some shadows around the players. As Livingstone prepares once more. 3 balls left of the over. It's dropped a little bit short, cut away nicely. There's work to do in the deep. And again, it's quite some distance for David Willey to get round. Big outfield, but he gets there with a couple of runs taken. 43 for 2 is the score. It is the 6th longest it has taken a team to hit a boundary in the history of T20 international cricket, for that first one to be struck in this game.
Okay, that's I wasn't involved, was I, in that one? But opening the batter, I think.
Livingstone is in, and it's clipped into the leg side, and 1 run or 1 leg by will be signalled. We'll wait and see. Either way, the score 44 for 2. I think actually you were all of the top 5.
Oh, excellent!
But
yeah, I thought so.
We thought we'd hold that back. But it's quite indicative, one, of the way that the game has gone. That this is a record that is, that we're seeing now. It's a very unusual state of affairs as Livingstone bowls and almost gets through, very nearly past Perera, and there's half an appeal for something. There's a little conversation going on, and Livingstone's still got his arm raised, and he's saying, well, hold on, that's gone through, and I think the stumps have been removed. The question might be whether there's a stumping in there and whether the batsman's left his ground. We'll have to look at the replay. England don't look overly enthused by it.
Is it Bairstow trying to claim a catch off the toe? Is he dropped it onto his toe and he's trying to...
TV umpire to director, we have an umpire review for a bump ball. It's a fair delivery. Can we see your best angle, please?
Yeah, this should clear it up for you, sir.
So, as you say, Ian, it's the question of whether the ball's gone into the foot, into the ground.
Okay, I'm ready with my decision for the big screen.
It is clearly hit the ground after hitting the foot, so will not be out. You can understand why Jonny Bairstow showed some interest in that.
Thanks to have a look, doesn't he, Johnny? Wouldn't overly trust his reviews sometimes, but yeah, had a look at that, but it clearly hit the floor.
So 44 for 2 is the score. 9 overs gone. Perera on 13, Mendis on 18. And conversations taking place at the far end as we prepare to see another Mark Wood over. But it's indicative of how teams now do go so hard early on in an innings that it is so rare to see a team taking that long to score a boundary.
100%. I think it's a bit of both. England have been outstanding.
Here comes Wood to start a new over. It's Mendis on strike on 18. That's a good-looking shot. There's work to do for Chris Jordan, who moves to his right at mid-off and picks up. And there is no run.
Yeah, brilliant from Wood. I like this as well. They're obviously, again, still saying to Sri Lanka, again, guy charging and bowling mid-90s, hit me back over my head. I think Wood would have been a bit disappointed in the previous over where he gave a little bit of width and they could use the pace. If he gets it nice and straight, back of a length. And again, it's a wicket-taking option. Morgan asking Sri Lanka to hit him straight back over Wood's head, which was never easy at all.
Wood turns at the far end, And begins this long approach. Mendis bat raised as Mark Wood is in, and that's a really quick ball that flies past the nostrils of the batsman and through to the gloves of Bairstow at just over 90 miles an hour. And most of us have never faced anything like that. What is it like facing Mark Wood in this?
It's nice they're sat here. That is for sure, watching it.
Don't doubt
that. No, it's all about trusting yourself, isn't it? I think as a young player, you grow up and those speeds. But again, it's about reacting, trusting the ability, and reacting to what comes down. You will move out the way, and not overthinking. Well, is it going to be short? Is it going to be full? As soon as you start overthinking the game, it becomes a lot harder.
Wood once again with Mendis on 18. It's 44 for 2. There's another ball that flies past the outside edge this time. Wood almost feels every single over that goes by. He's finding a couple more gears. That one up to 92 miles an hour. It's a reminder, of course, it's the second of 3 T20s, a third one on Saturday in Southampton. Ellie Aldroyd presenting 5 Live Sport from the ground. Full commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra from 2:30. And you can watch this game taking place now on BBC Two. Live coverage the whole game, and you've got your in-play clips and highlights on the BBC Sport website as well. Wherever you go, you'll be able to follow the game. 44 for 2. We're midway through the 10th over. Sri Lanka struggling to get going as Mendis waits for Wood and runs the ball down towards Dawid Malan in front of us. Now we'll pick up a single to get off strike. And looks frustrated. He slaps the bat against his pads in the manner of somebody that thinks he probably should have got more from this over. Yeah,
again, Wood's been brilliant. And again, the previous over he gave those, that's certainly the boundary away from width. This has just been absolutely banged in, heavy length, over middle stump. And that is hard to play, especially at 92 miles an hour. And just creating more and more pressure. You just feel here the way England are going now. 2 more wickets on this and Sri Lanka in real trouble. They're going to have to change gears here and get the momentum moving.
We saw Dasun Shanaka coming in and hitting important late runs yesterday. Not enough to cause England any problems, but his 50 was certainly better than we'd seen from anyone else in the Sri Lanka lineup. As Wood comes in around the wicket and bowls quickly once more, flicked around the corner down to fine leg, where Malan, who's been busy in the last 10 minutes, will pick up. And the score 46 for 2. We've got a ball left of this 10th over at the halfway point in the innings. To have a score which looks like being sub 50 is going to have to see some quite significant change to things if we're going to see anything remotely competitive.
It is, and I think that maybe the one area from the winter as well that Eoin Morgan will be looking at as well is how England bowl those last 3 overs, the death. I mean, it has gone for a few runs, so finding his combination. So again, teams will be looking at that, and if they're not saying stack up and go hard at the end, but it has been England's weakest spot those last few overs. And obviously then with the bat finding a finisher in that 6 or 7 role, where do you get the best out of Stokes and what position? So, you know, again, if Sri Lanka do build, they know that England have leaked a few runs going into the death overs and bowling those Yorkers.
One area of England's game in the last 6 months they really have been working on is making sure those early power play overs don't concede too many. They've been one of the poorer teams in international cricket for expensive early on, but far better today as Mendis waits on 19, gives himself a little bit of space. That's a nice looking shot. It's going to run down towards fine leg where Rashid will collect on the bounce. It was awkward, spinning for a moment, but he got there. And it's just a single to conclude the over. So 10 gone, 47 for 2 on Test Match Special on 5 Live Sport and 5 Live Sports Extra. Ian Bell, Ashes winner, is alongside us. And some more from you at the halfway stage of this innings, what Sri Lanka need to do. And then Atif Nawaz will take up commentary.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic 10 overs from England. To keep Sri Lanka to 47 for 2 has been absolutely incredible. Bowling's been brilliant. They've just given nothing to Sri Lanka at all. And we're about to see Adil Rashid into the attack and putting a lot of pressure on Sri Lanka now, trying to get a score that they'll be able to defend.
Yes, thank you so much, Ian Bell. What a pleasure it is to commentate alongside you. And a big welcome to our listeners on 5 Live Sport right now. And you're taking a break from the football. We're here at Sophia Gardens for the second international T20 between England and Sri Lanka. Yesterday, England won by 8 wickets, having lost the toss. Sri Lanka decided to bat first. They did the same thing today, and both days the England captain Eoin Morgan was very happy with the result. Happy to take up the ball first. Now we're seeing Adil Rashid being introduced into the attack for the very first time. He starts with a full ball. It's been driven down to long on for a single. 48 for 2 after 10.1 overs. And, well, there's a huge gulf between these two teams, Ian, with England at world number 1 and Sri Lanka at number 8. Anything less than a clean sweep would not be acceptable to England, surely.
They'll definitely be looking at that. It looks like that way. I think if England play anything near their best, that will definitely happen.
As Adil Rashid comes in once more, this time the ball given a little bit more flight, but a well-executed sweep shot goes out to David Willey at deep square leg. They come through for a single, 49 for 2.
But you're right, it does look like Sri Lanka in a rebuilding stage. They had a generation of some fine players, and this is a young group, so they've got to play as much games as they can together. I'm sure this tour will benefit them in the long run.
Adil Rashid once more comes in a bit shorter this time and pulled nicely by Kusal Mendis. There is protection out in the deep. The fielder at square leg is Sam Curran, who gets the full ball back. The Sri Lankan 50 comes up, 50 for 2 after 10.3. I mean, we kind of saw this yesterday. He ended with like a below par undercooked total, 129. They looked like, sort of at the moment, best case, they're going to end up somewhere similar. I'll get your thoughts. Adil Rashid quickly back into his work, and this time a big reverse sweep attempted. The ball goes up in the air in between the fielder at short fine leg and short third. Some relay fielding by the men out there, and Sri Lanka managed to get back for 2. Decent work in the deep there as... well, it wasn't the most elegant reverse sweep in the world, but I guess it was effective. It got him 2 runs, 52 for 2.
Yeah, but I do think England have to take a lot of credit. I think they were fantastic in the power play. They didn't give anything to Sri Lanka. I think Sri Lanka could have been a bit more proactive with their movement around the crease, not just slogging, but be a bit busier.
Adil Rashid in once more. And slightly short delivery, pushed out to the mid-wicket region for a single.
Yeah, and just move around the crease a little bit, change the angle, try and put something back. I think when Nola watched, and talked to Chris Wokes, what was he looking to do in the 50 over? It's hit a heavy length straight over middle stump. So you as a batsman now have to try and find a way of putting that under pressure. And I think Sri Lanka maybe stayed in the same place for too often, where I think Sangakkara would have made a stepped outside leg or moved across to off to put a bit more pressure back on the bowler.
This is Rashid in once more, this time closer to the stumps, and a flatter trajectory worked into the leg side. They take the first one quickly, they want the second, they're rushing back. Will they make it? They do relatively comfortably. Not the best throw in the deep there from Livingstone. Could have put the batsman under pressure, but they make it back for 2. Sri Lanka 55 for 2 after 11 overs. Kusal Perera on 18 and Mendis on 24. So, Ian Bell alongside me, Warwickshire and England legend, obviously played in T20 leagues around the world. How difficult is it to translate form that you accomplish in something like an IPL or a PSL or a CPL, whatever it may be, and take that into an international team?
Well, I think luckily, a lot of you look at the guys playing the IPL, that is international cricket, isn't it? And then everything that goes with it is an incredible amount of pressure to play under. So, and what I love about franchise cricket is the fact that you're learning and you're playing with different players from different countries, the overlap in the conversations you're having and the information you're gathering as a player, especially these young guys, is fantastic. But yeah, you're trying to learn those skills, and I think that's something from an English point of view, playing in the subcontinent, winning in the subcontinent. So those tournaments the guys do manage to get to, whether it's the PSL, the IPL, they are gathering information that's only going to hopefully benefit England winning a world trophy in those conditions.
Yes, they've already got one to their name. I'm sure they'd like another one in quick succession. Chris Jordan back for his second over, and this time Kusal Mendis makes some room, swats the ball to mid-on. David Willey with a bit of fielding there, manages to prevent anything more than the single. 56 for 2 after 11.1. And yes, this England team, well, you wouldn't want to bet against them at the World T20 this year, especially if it doesn't happen in India.
Yeah, it's frightening. The depth in white ball cricket in this country at the moment is fantastic. I think that Jofra Archer isn't playing, Ben Stokes isn't playing. It is incredible because those two are walking into the side. So even Joe Root not even being in this side as well. So it's an amazing to think of the quality that's playing domestically at the moment in the Blast. So yeah, competition for places also is good, and creating that energy, and we're seeing the results of that depth now over the last few years.
Chris Jordan back in now. Short delivery this time. The batsman attempts a little uppercut shot, misses it, goes through to the keeper on the bounce. Slightly slower that time from Jordan. Dot ball, 56 for 2 after 11.2 overs. And as you say, Ian, it's a very exciting brand of cricket to watch as well. Just as a fan, it's breathtaking, the hitting, the inventiveness, the quality of cricket on display from Team England. It's the most exciting in the world right now. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
No, I think it changed, didn't it? I think playing on flat surfaces where you need to be powerful.
Yeah, it's had a huge impact for sure. Jordan in now, short ball this time. Kusal Mendis swivels on it. It's gone high up in the air. Is it going to clear the fence comfortably? It's in the second tier, right below us here in the media centre. And the crowd at Sophia Gardens enjoying the fruits of a beautiful 6. A maximum shot there, as one of the fielders is going to have to climb over the fence to retrieve that. I think it's gone all the way into the fence. There's Adil Rashid down there who'd had to get himself tangled up in those electronic advertising boards. What a shot that was.
Yeah, brilliant shot. I mean, it's obviously just got 2 straight going just slightly down the leg side and just used the pace, picked it up, didn't try and beat deep square leg, took it over fine leg, so the pace was on the ball, and it was comfortably 6.
Some Sri Lankan fans in today, and they've been given something to celebrate finally. Some great attire as well, which I'll describe to you in a minute. Jordan in once more, this time beats the cut shot through to the keeper, and there is no run. Good comeback from Jordan, just pushing the ball away from the batsman. And I spot a few Sri Lankan wigs. You've got that classic kind of jester's hat. There's a few of them about as well, the kind of navy and yellow jester's hats. I see a few flags as well. Yesterday was outstanding when Dasun Shanaka was approaching his 50. Just chants of Dasu, Dasu. It's extraordinary. Support from the Sri Lankan team, who I suspect they realise as well that they're up against it, against this very polished England team. Chris Jordan in once more. Another short ball, this time flicked backward of square by Kusal Mendis. Adil Rashid quickly onto that ball, gets the ball back in, and a single is taken. Right, 63 for 2. It's a left and right hand combination, causing a little bit more cardio for this England team, having to cross over. How irritating is it, Ian Bell, to have a left and right-handed batsman in the middle?
I think it's really important. I think you see a lot of T20 teams, don't you, domestically or even franchises, where they will, if a left-hander gets out, a left-hander goes in, and they'll try and keep that in the middle as long as they can.
Yeah, they will. As a fielding side, it can't be fun. Chris Jordan in once more, wide of the crease. This time, another swatted shot into the leg side. Has gone high up in the air. Will it be taken at fine leg? A diving effort is unsuccessful. Nearly got there, but didn't quite make it. And Perera lives to fight another day. Oh, it was a terrific effort in the deep. Had a lot of ground to cover there, and in the end couldn't quite get there.
No, good effort. Was it Malan down there? Again, he made good yards to get there, and you'd expect again the way that these guys field, certainly this England side, you'd expect that to be taken, and that's the way they've taken the game so far forward, that it's just more of a shock that you see that drop than actually, like I said, being taken.
Yeah, David Malan there with a terrific diving effort. But yeah, and it's bizarre really, in the modern game you kind of think of that as a dropped chance.
Yeah, maybe Chris Jordan wanted himself down there, and then it would have been okay, wouldn't it? He's the only man that probably would have made it. He should have ran himself.
Most certainly, he should have gone for it. He had the time, it was up in the air for ages. It's definitely one for the highlights, and a reminder, you can see all of the action that we're describing to you on BBC Two live right now, as Adil Rashid in for his second over now. Back of a length delivery, it's been pulled down to the mid-wicket region, and they'll get the first one quickly. They come back for the second and make it with ease. Good running by this Sri Lankan pair, Kusal Mendis and Kusal Perera. 67 for 2.
These last 3 overs have been much better, and not just that, the running between the wickets, as we said. So far gone, it's got big corners, there's lots of 2s out there. You can't just get obsessed with the short straight boundaries. Look for your 2s, run hard between the wickets, and the rest will come.
Yes, absolutely. As Rashid in once more, this time a fuller ball, another attempted sweep shot, executed not quite out the middle, but enough to get a single out in the deep to Liam Livingstone. 68 for 2 now, some attacking intent from the Sri Lankans. You can tell they need to get significantly more than 129 to push this England team. They do have the bowlers to put them under pressure. Yesterday we saw Hasaranga bowl a tremendous spell, 4 overs, no wickets, but just the 12 runs conceded. So they can create some pressure. Rashid in now, switch hit from Perera. It's gone up in the air and comfortably into the hands of Eoin Morgan. Another wicket falls just as they were building momentum. Sri Lanka have lost another wicket. Kusal Perera perishes for 21 of 25 deliveries. Sri Lanka 68 for 3.
Yeah, brilliant from Rashid, just what England wanted again. And you feel that, I mean, that option is on, but there's so many other parts of the ground that he possibly could have gone to. You know, that's a higher risk shot. Again, it's right off the toe of the bat and caught extra cover. And you'll be looking at that partnership was gathering some momentum again, putting a little bit of pressure back on England, but again that just makes it harder for them to get going now. It's never easy for a guy to come in again, start on naught against Adil Rashid, spinning the ball both ways, so England fully in control.
Most definitely. 68 for 3 after 12.3 overs, and he'll be annoyed with himself there. Kusal is playing very well, and they're building a partnership, a good platform for the hitters to come, but still plenty of batting left in this Sri Lanka middle order. The crowd here at Cardiff are enjoying themselves. The music is blaring. How lovely is it to have a live crowd? It's such a beautiful cricket city as well. I imagine, I don't know how many walks you get to take around cricket grounds, Ian, because I imagine you're mobbed everywhere you go, right?
I'm not sure about that.
Well, I reckon in Cardiff maybe you can. Everybody eases off a little bit.
Sometimes, most places actually, but apart from Birmingham, maybe get the odd day.
I'm sure. Very, very, very popular around the bull ring for sure.
Well, it depends on what part of Birmingham. If it's Aston, we're all right. Other parts, then of that other team in Birmingham. I don't get as much of a good pat on the back from time to time.
Niroshan Dickwella is the new batsman, back into the team today after sitting out yesterday's match. One of the more experienced players in this team, and gentleman, if I may say so. I had the opportunity to speak to him a couple of years ago. As in comes Adil Rashid. Ball floats one up as Dickwella can just work that down to mid-wicket. They take the first one quickly. They want the second. That was tight. A diving effort required by Mendis at the non-striker's end. They might take a look at it. I think the dive made it comfortable, but, well, I don't know whether to call that a good bit of running or not, Ian.
I like the intent. Like I said, I think the big corners here, and I find it, again, we see Dickwella play now. I find it amazing that he's not a guaranteed player in T20 for Sri Lanka. Obviously, I watched him in the test matches. I thought he was a fantastic player. And he plays an aggressive style.
Eoin Morgan didn't quite grasp the ball there, which made it an easy decision for the umpire. This time, Dickwella comes down the ground and works the ball into the leg side for a single. Score moves on to 71 for 3.
Yeah, he's come in with his nice intent, hasn't he? We talked a lot, we saw in the PSL, we talked about getting the dot ball percentage down. It's obviously about 4s and 6s, but also you don't want lots of dots, do you? And if you can score off as many balls as you can, especially on wickets like this, where it's not necessarily a 200 par pitch, 170 can be a winning score, so score off as many as you can.
Well, Mendis is on strike now as Rashid comes in, and lots of flight given again. Mendis committed to that sweep shot. Gets it out to deep square leg for a single. It's a premeditated strategy, I'm sure, against Rashid, as Sri Lanka 72 for 3 after 13 overs. Dickwella, Ian Bell, has played 24 scoop shots in international T20 cricket. Only Jos Buttler, who's hit 25, and Faf du Plessis, who's hit 27, have played more. 24 scoop shots. I bet you don't even know how many scoop shots you've hit.
Not many, I wouldn't have thought. Was it so Dilshan was one of his favourite, I'm assuming, growing up. I mean, watching him do it, he was probably one of the originals, wasn't he? So, yeah, it's an incredible stat. But I'd probably actually go with England. I've played 0, I would have thought.
Well, what about Warwickshire or Birmingham?
Oh, the occasional one when I came out towards after my England days. Yeah, they got the odd one. I had to keep up with the youngsters. So I had to spend 6 months in the winter practicing it. I'd never seen one before.
I remember having a chat with Ravi Bopara, and he told me his technique was to practice it in a squash court.
Yeah, okay. I didn't quite go there. I just try to keep my eyes open sometimes, getting down and...
Oh, wonderful. Well, if anybody is listening out there, and if you can find me a clip of Ian Bell playing a scoop shot, I'd very much love to see it. Please do tweet it to us at TMS, at BBC TMS. Right, Mark Wood back into the attack. He bowls, he follows the batsman as he lofts that up in the air and into the gap. Couple of bounces into the long on fence. 4 runs for Kusal Mendis. The intent continues.
Yeah, exactly. They just showed his stumps. We talked about that in the power play. They just stayed in one position. As a bowler, that's a dream. He's just shuffled to the leg, so he hasn't gone down the wicket. He's just gone to the side, showed his stumps, which again allowed his hands to come free. He's got a free swing of the bat, and also it puts a little bit more pressure on Wood just on release. He sees him do that, maybe followed him, and a lovely strike over mid-on.
That's a gorgeous shot, that. Not too many fans in that long on stand. They enjoyed that shot. Mark Wood back in once again very quickly. This time the ball's been hit up in the air. It's gone a long way up. Jos Buttler getting underneath it. Will he take the catch? Absolutely he will. A wicket for Mark Wood. Kusal Mendis looking to put his foot on the gas. Has managed to hit out 39 of 39 deliveries for him. Jos Buttler with a good catch. And Sri Lanka wilting 76 for 4 after 13.2 overs.
Yeah, it was a nice innings from Mendis, but again, just as we've seen yesterday and now, it's just constant fall of wickets at the wrong time. Can't get a partnership going. So yeah, really, really good stuff from England. Again, Wood hit for a boundary before, came back again, heavy length, straight, and basically asked you to do it again if you want to, and got the wicket, which is just, again, it's a good habit to get into, having that through that middle period, taking wickets consistently just stops that back up at the end where teams can literally go when they've got wickets in the shed.
I must correct myself. It was, of course, Jonny Bairstow behind the stumps who took that catch and not Jos Buttler. But Buttler took an identical catch yesterday, which is probably what threw me. But yeah, they're terrific. Even the choice of wicket keepers, there's so much depth here. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
In a way, it is good to see Jonny with the gloves. I mean, we know what quality he has, and we've got a lot of choice in that. Certainly test match wicket keeper batters, we have a lot of choice. So in a way, it's good to see him with the gloves on, and a reminder for everyone. As you said, the depth we have in that position in terms of keeper batters is quite incredible.
Yeah, Bairstow had a very good IPL, of course. Well, what we saw of the IPL, he was batting very, very well in that. His T20 form has made him a prized asset for any team any T20 team that can secure his signature. And he's showing off some glove work as well. Very decent catch there. Now then, the man who got the runs yesterday for Sri Lanka has come to the crease. Dasun Shanaka. And he got himself a very decent 50 yesterday. Some big hits in that 50 of 44 deliveries. A huge part of Sri Lanka getting to a pass score. He's at the non-strikers end. Nuwan Dickwella is on strike. In comes Wood. A full delivery. The ball's taken a leading edge. It's gone up in the air and it's a catch. An easy catch for Eoin Morgan, the safest hands in the world. And Sri Lanka have lost back-to-back wickets. Mark Wood on a hat-trick, 76 for 5.
Yeah, you'd probably say quite a soft wicket, wouldn't you? Just turn the ball. Maybe the nature of the pitch a little bit too paced. It looked a bit like that yesterday. And he's tried to turn it to mid-wicket, and quite a easy, or a very easy catch for Eoin Morgan, extra cover.
Yeah, he barely had to move, Eoin Morgan. It was almost like he'd already taken the catch. And a nice show of emotion there, a bit of support there for Mark Wood. He took a few hits yesterday. You know, he was possibly the most expensive of, admittedly, a very good bunch of England bowlers yesterday, but good for him to get a wicket. Niroshan Dickwella going back into the hut, scoring just the 3 runs. Mickey Arthur is not pleased in the Sri Lankan dugout. I mean, can you fault this play? I mean, they do have to up their pace. You know, they kind of have to play these shots. Any different approach you'd suggest?
I just think it's where we are at the moment in both teams. We're seeing England, who are constantly and confident about winning games of cricket, have been doing that for a long time in T20 and in 50-over cricket. And we're seeing a Sri Lankan team which is at the start of a journey. It's a young side. Not many probably have played over here in these conditions. We're seeing two different sides, aren't we? And they're going to have to learn quickly. But again, what you want to see ideally is the mistakes they made yesterday to improve them today, not make the same ones again, and you feel like that's happening a little bit today.
Well, here we go. We're going to see a hat-trick ball here at Cardiff, at the Sophia Gardens Cricket Stadium. And there's noise and anticipation amongst this crowd. It's not the biggest crowd in the world, but it's the most social distancing will allow, and they're enjoying a good game of cricket here. Hat-trick ball from Mark Wood. He's got 2 slips in place. Maybe a third catch. We've already seen one taken by Bairstow and then one by Morgan. In he comes now for the hat-trick ball. Mark Wood steaming in with 2 slips in place. A full ball nearly takes the outside edge as it goes through to the keeper for no run. Hands on heads from all the England fielders. That was very, very close. A big smile on his face as well from Mark Wood. I think that's about as good as a hat-trick ball gets, isn't it?
It was, wasn't it? Apart from being straight, full. He was going to go for that Yorker. He's got 2 slips in the 13th over of a T20, which again is quite incredible. England well on top now, and Wood, full of steam. 93 miles an hour, that one.
Oof, that's how fast you want your hat-trick ball. This commentary is on the second T20 in Cardiff on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra. Atif Nawaz alongside Ian Bell, former Warwickshire and England legend. And we're watching legend in the making, Mark Wood, come in and bowl. Short, and this time pushed off the back foot to backward point. There is no rung. And Hasaranga, well, welcome to the crease. Eleanor Aldroyd will have all of the day's sports news in the interval in around 25 minutes' time, we anticipate. Sri Lanka will be hoping to make it, well, at least bat out their overs at this point. 76 for 5 after 13.5 overs. They will know that Shanaka is still at the non-striker's end. We talked about his hitting yesterday, but he's yet to face a delivery. People at the other end keep getting out.
Yeah, they just can't get a partnership going at all, and Wood's been outstanding.
Right, slip still in place as Mark Wood steams in. Bowls a short ball again, just beating the outside edge. Hasaranga can't get anywhere near it at the moment. Goes through to the keeper. No run. Excellent over from Mark Wood. Just that boundary off the first ball. Recovers with the 2 wickets. And then another 3 dot balls. And very, very quick stuff as well. 76 for 5 Sri Lanka after 14 overs. How impressive was that over, Ian Bell?
Brilliant. Obviously, getting wickets is the most important thing. Again, in white ball cricket, how do you stop guys going big at the back end with the bat? Is taking wickets through the middle. So having Mark Wood, I think he's such an important player for England in this next 6 months, not just in T20 but in all the formats. Having him fully fit, is a great sight. Having people, someone that can bowl that pace, and as I said, going to Australia Test match cricket, but also on the surfaces for the T20 World Cup, he's going to be such an important part of this team.
He most certainly is. Adil Rashid now just skipping at the top of his run, taking his time. And he comes again. Lots of flight given. The ball pushed to short extra cover. Great diving stop there by the captain, Eoin Morgan, keeping the pressure on the Sri Lankan side. 76 for 5 as we momentarily say goodbye to Ian Bell. And in a moment, we're going to be joined by Alex Hartley, World Cup winner with England, the Thunder captain, the co-host of the No Balls podcast on BBC Sounds, and elephant impersonator. Short ball has been pulled down to long on for a single. Elephant costume impersonator. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
I'm not sure my elephant impression is decent enough to do live on the radio, so I'll keep that one quiet.
Well, if we get enough tweets requesting it, Alex.
No.
77 for 5, and Sri Lanka in all sorts of trouble here. Hasaranga, well, he was so effective with the ball yesterday. He'll have to do a job with the bat here. Of course, Dasun Shanaka also in good form for Sri Lanka. These England players, there's no stopping them right now. In comes Rashid. Short ball has been pulled by Shanaka towards the right of the deep square leg fielder. Sam Curran gets the ball back in quickly. Just a single taken. 78 for 5.
They've been impressive, haven't they, England? Yet again, very impressive. It's just consistently taking wickets, the way they find ways.
Just endless pressure from England as Rashid in once again. Another full ball swept by Shanaka, but he can't beat the short, fine leg. And hence, another dot ball, 78 for 5.
And Sri Lanka really struggling to find the boundary as well. You know, they've just created so much pressure of England, and hence the consistent wickets that keep falling.
Yes, absolutely. Can't string a couple together right now as Rashid in once again. This time the ball's been turned into the leg side by Hasaranga. Takes the first one quickly, comes back for the second, and makes it, slightly wayward throw. Though, to be fair, had that been on target, I still think they would have made it with that dive. Shanaka with that 2, I beg your pardon. Hasaranga going to the danger end. Just brushing off his kit. It's the one upside of having a dark coloured kit, isn't it? You can't see the sliding stains and things like that.
The dust from the wicket.
Yeah. It's just going to take a moment to adjust his pads. I get an earful from my mother sometimes when I come home from the cricket on the weekends. Just green all over my shirt, my trousers.
You don't do your own washing?
Well, no, so she knows how to get the white ones clean. I don't know how to get the whites clean.
Oh, come on.
I'm telling you.
Come on.
I'm telling you. I do everything else.
Bit of vanish.
Vanish. Okay. Well, the clue's in the name, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, how do you get your whites clean? Get in touch with us on at BBC TMS. Rashid in now. This ball's been worked into the leg side. And Shanaka will take a single. 81 for 5 after 15 overs. 5 overs to go. What can Sri Lanka muster? Can they get a total in excess of 129 and challenge this mighty England side? Alex Hartley, a few thoughts from you. And in a moment, you're going to be joined by the mighty Henry Moran.
I mean, minimum they need here is to get 130, so they need to go at 10 and over, but they just don't look like going anywhere near that. The run rate now is 5.4. It's probably the highest it's been. The whole batting innings for Sri Lanka again, they've just really struggled. If they go 8 and over, they'll get to 121. 6 and over, 111. 4 and over, 101.
81 for 5, Alex. You can't paint that any way other than a little bit disappointing.
A little bit average.
Very much so. Here comes Mark Wood then. Final over for him. 2 for 15 for Wood thus far. And he's in. He bowls a very quick ball. It's a peel from behind the stumps for LBW, but Wood shows no interest. And the score remains at 81 for 5. 41 dot balls in the innings so far.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pressure created by England. You know, they've absolutely nailed their lines and their lengths. The England bowling attack today is just constant pressure on the Sri Lankan batters, and they just haven't managed to find a way to get through these tough periods. They've lost consistent wickets, and you can't build a platform when everybody's back in the shed.
Well, Shanaka scored 50 yesterday. He's on 4 and waits for Mark Wood, who's in and defensively pushed. Again, it's very straight. England have been absolutely on the money every delivery in this innings.
Yeah, we can't take anything away from England. Number 1 in the world, Sri Lanka I think number 8th as well, so it was always going to be a tough contest for Sri Lanka playing the world's best white ball team. But they've just been disappointing in these first 2 T20s that we've seen.
Well, they have been a little bit, and I think there were quite a few people hoping England would bat first in this game, just to see them flex their muscles with the bat and what they could muster. Maybe we'll see that in the third game of the series on Saturday at Southampton. Here comes Wood with a slip in place. Shanaka on strike, tucked up for space, worked into the leg side, and sprinting is Billings in a pair of very loud boots. And a single is taken. 82 for 5. Your coat, Alex, today.
Yes.
It's a cracker.
It is, and I really liked it until you started taking the mick out of me for it.
It just looks a little bit like 1980s wrestling legend Ric Flair.
I'll tell you what, I'll be that person.
Yeah?
I'll be that person that wears outrageous jackets and just owns them while you take the mick out of me.
Well, Henry Blofeld did retire a couple of years ago, so there is there is room in the roster. In comes Mark Wood. And that is short and chipped up. Had there been a fielder inside the circle at square leg, it would have been the easiest of catches. As it is a single to Hasaranga, who moves to 2. 83 for 5. It's very fetching.
Thank you. I would be honoured to Phil lowers his boots. So, challenge accepted.
Those boots being brightly coloured and made of velvet. If you're wondering about the No Balls podcast, we've talked about this a lot. It is available on Test Match Special Stream on the BBC Sounds app. With you, Alex, and England bowler Kate Cross, your teammate at the North West Thunder and the Manchester Originals. And we've had Chris Wokes, James Taylor on the podcast so far this series.
We have. We've had two very good guests. Chris Wokes, the nicest man in cricket.
Well, they always say this.
Great bloke.
In comes Mark Wood. Shanaka's on 5. Feels one outside the off stump. It flies through, thuds into the gloves of Jonny Bairstow, who crouches down and has a little look at the underside of his boots. It's been reasonably busy in this game. Many have flown past the outside edge, many more than you'd expect in a T20 match, typically. 83 for 5 is the score midway through the 16th.
Yeah, it's not often in a T20 game that your keeper's been your busiest fielder. But Bairstow, behind the stumps today, has been a very busy bloke.
And the reason that Jonny Bairstow is playing is Josh Buttler misses out with a calf strain. So here comes Wood once again. The ball short. It's well played, actually, by Dasun Shanaka. Will pick up one into the leg side and will keep the strike at the start of the 17th over. 84 for 5, and Wood finishes an outstanding spell. 4 overs, 2 for 18. And the applause around Sapphire Gardens for a really top spell of fast bowling. And Mark Wood is a cricketer that so often is spoken about it needing to be wrapped up in cotton wool, protected at all costs, because every year he just seems to develop and develop.
Yeah, he's such a good bowler, and he gives it his all the time. You know, we see quite often he runs in and he bowls so fast, he falls over and he's follow through. But he's bowling consistently above 90 mile an hour this evening, just beating that outside edge on more than one occasion. And very, very impressive indeed.
Adil Rashid, who had an excellent time of it yesterday with the ball. He's bowled well so far as well today. 3 overs, 1 for 20, and he's in to bowl his 4th. It's very full, and Shanaka will get at least 1. Pushing hard, turns for the second, but it won't be there. As the throw comes in from deep mid-wicket. 85 for 5, a nice buzz and a hum around Sapphire Gardens. There's some supporters in fancy dress on the far side of the ground. Only 2,000 able to be in. You can be pretty certain this ground will be full if regulations and rules allowed. As it is, there's plenty of noise. Not quite as many supporters as there might be as Adil Rashid bowls short. It's cut away. That's nicely played from Hasaranga. And 1 run taken out to Billings at deep cover. 86 for 5. And you will know this, Alex, from a year with no supporters, what a difference it makes to players you playing for the Manchester Originals this year in the 100 competition, as Adil Rashid is in to bowl to Shanaka, works the ball into the leg side, and Rashid will chase off his own bowling and slide to pick up and prevent the second run. And the score 87 for 5. What a difference it makes.
Yeah, it really does. In the first game I played without a crowd in, it was almost eerie. Because there's always a little ripple and there's always people talking and cheering and chanting, and it was just completely silent, and you could just constantly hear people, your teammates, chatting amongst themselves.
Rashid in bowls. Oh, and he's going to get another wicket because Hasaranga swings wildly, and he doesn't even bother to look back as Jonny Bairstow whips the bails off. The zing bails ignite, and Adil Rashid strikes again. 87 for 6. And the batsman's been done by a fine piece of leg spin bowling.
Yeah, you know what? I don't mind that from Hasaranga. Adil Rashid is creating pressure. He's going for the big swing. He knows his team's under pressure to get more runs, to up that run rate. But he just lost all his shape there. He's falling over as he goes to hit the shot, trying to heave it into the leg side. And he's gone for 3.
Wanindu Hasaranga faced 7 deliveries, only made 3. And the Sri Lanka run rate stands at 5.22. It's 87 for 6.
You almost feel like England will be pretty sure they've already won this cricket game.
It feels that way. And when we're speaking to Russell Arnold, former Sri Lanka all-rounder before play on 5 Live Sports Extra, Alex, he said, well, 150, 155 is what they need to be aiming for to have a little bit of a chance in this game. It's going to be well short of that unless something truly remarkable happens. At this stage, it looks like, well, you could be in the sort of territory of anything around 110 would be a decent effort from this point.
Yeah, you always think when you're coming up against the world's best team, 150 minimum. You know, you've got Sam Curran coming in at 7, opens the batting in the IPL. You know, he's a fantastic player.
Adil Rashid moving into bowl once again. 87 for 6 is a score. It's outside the off stump and pushed away without much conviction from Udana, the new batsman. Mark Wood's spell this evening is 4 overs, his most economical 4-over innings, and the 4th fastest England bowling in T20s, overtaking his performance yesterday, bowling at an average speed of 90.3 miles per hour. Rashid in looking for a 3rd wicket. And it's nudged into the offside from Udana to pick up a single and keep the strike. And that will see the end of the over and Adil Rashid's spell. 4 overs, 2 for 24 to follow his 2 wickets yesterday as well. Alex, as a World Cup winning spin bowler, you can appreciate how good and how valuable he is to this team, Adil Rashid.
Yeah, he consistently performs time and time again for England. When England are under the pump, Eoin Morgan turns to him and he's the wicket taker in this team. And in this series so far, Eoin Morgan's been able to hold him back because his seamers have been bowling so well. But we quite often see him, he'll close out an innings as well when the captain feels like Rashid's capable of it. But he really is so valuable to this England team and again, proving himself with the ball.
Chris Jordan is going to bowl the 18th over of the innings with a score at 88 for 6. You're listening to Test Match Special on 5 Live Sport and 5 Live Sports Extra. We'll be back for all the day's sports news with Eleanor Aldroyd during the interval of this game in 3 overs time on 5 Live Sport, with a rare night off from the football. Who did you get in the Test Match Special sweepstake? Remind me, Alex.
Italy.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah, I've done all right. I haven't followed them. I don't know how they're doing.
They're doing well. Here comes Chris Jordan then into bowl to Udana, who swings wildly, misses, and through to Jonny Bairstow it goes. That dot ball count continues to rise. It remains 88 for 6.
I don't mind that. You know, trying to get the ball into the deep, heave to the leg side, but you've got to keep your shape. As he's gone to swing the ball there, he's sort of fallen over backwards, his head going more towards the leg side, and he's just lost all of his shape. If you're going to hit the ball hard, you have to stay still as you're going to make contact with the ball.
There's a big gap over at deep mid-wicket. No protection on the boundary there as Jordan moves in to bowl. Again, a big swing this time along the ground. It's a good stop at mid-off, diving to his left from Mark Wood, who, well, you could understand if he was taking a bit of a breather after that spell, but he was quickly across to his left to prevent the second. 89 for 6. And England continuing to build this pressure. And it feels like Eoin Morgan is in complete control of this game. He's orchestrating the field, his bowlers, everything is going exactly the way he wants it to.
Yeah, he's got a presence about him, hasn't he? We look at him in the field and we can see him at extra cover, and you can just tell he's the boss. You can tell he's in charge. He's stood there, he's proud. You know, his team's done him well this evening.
Here comes Jordan once again. It's short, ballooning over the head of the batsman. Will be signalled wide. It was very short. And that's one more onto the total. 90 for 6. Those fielders outside the circle. Then we've got a deep cover, deep mid-wicket, long on, deep backward square and a fine leg. And so there is plenty of space if Shanaka can clip the ball into the leg side to push for the second run, because boundaries don't look particularly easy to come by. Jordan for the far end of the ground, the river end here at Sapphire Gardens, moves in, bowls, felt for outside the off stump, and once again goes through to the gloves of Bairstow, and there is no run.
Just trying to hit the ball too hard. You quite often talk about in T20 cricket, you have to hit the ball at 80%. You know, he's just swinging the ball outside the off stump. I mean, it was far too full to play on the back foot in the first place, but he's just swinging at the ball too hard.
It's 80%, so you don't give it everything. You give it enough, but just hold back. Right, here comes Jordan. And a big swing down the ground. Should be a chance of a catch. And it is easily taken by David Willey at long on. Shanaka goes. Another wicket falls. It's 90 for 7. And Chris Jordan gets in on the act. Sri Lanka falling in a bit of a heap here. And England, well, as you say, Alex, they'll feel this is job done already.
Yeah, I think they'll have felt it was job done, you know, halfway through the power play when they already lost those 2 quick wickets, and then they were 20 for 2 after about 4 overs. But they just haven't taken their foot off the gas here, and they've just taken wickets after wickets and really put the pressure on Sri Lanka and really proven why they are the best team at white ball cricket.
Willey with the catch, Jordan the bowler, and Shanaka, 14 balls faced, goes for just 8. It's 90 for 7. Just a reminder, if you want to watch this game, you can do so live now on BBC Two with Isuru and the team, or you can catch up with it on the iPlayer at your leisure. And there are highlights in play on the cricket section of the BBC Sport website, including Sam Curran's outstanding finish, the little kick into the stumps.
Love that. The Euros are on. Why not? Why not get yourself in the action?
Did you see Mark Wood during the New Zealand series when he had a go at kicking down the stumps? And he shouted a spreer as he did it. Occasionally goes for shearer. And I was disappointed Sam Curran offered nothing.
Well, he must do better.
Yeah.
Because if he had have shouted shearer, that would have been all over the internet very, very quickly.
And that, of course, is the most important thing.
Obviously. Social media is life.
It's worth pointing out, Mark Wood missed, Sam Curran hit, so make of that what you will. It was a sensational moment. Do check it out on it's on the Test Match Special social media streams at BBC TMS and on the BBC Sport website and app. And well worth a look. Dananjaya is the new batsman. Left-hander, Chris Jordan is running in. Going round the wicket. Bowls a ball with a pace taken off it, pushed gently into the offside. And there is no run. We've got a ball left of the 18th over. Just 12 to come after this over, and it is 90 for 7.
I feel like Sri Lanka have been very one-paced throughout this batting innings. They haven't taken the time and reassessed. When boundaries have been hard to come by, they've decided just to swing harder and harder rather than knock the ball into the leg side. We have a vacant leg side field where twos are easily gettable, but there's just not been that consistency.
Here comes Jordan again, past the umpire, and it was just a moment where there was some interest from some England fielders. I think it was bat on ground than on ball that made the sound. And the over finishes with another dot ball. Chris Jordan, 3 overs, 1 for 17 so far. And Sri Lanka 90 for 7 after 18. Adil Rashid in this T20 series so far. 8 overs, he's conceded just 41 runs. And he's picked up 4 wickets, yet to concede a boundary. And an economy rate of 5.1. Alex, as a spin bowler, what is your target for an economy rate in the T20?
If I go anything less than 6s, you've done a very good job. But not to concede a boundary, that is what dreams are made of, isn't it? He's been very good, he's been really consistent. He knows exactly what he's doing, a veteran of the game.
And we're going to see David Willey bowling once again. I always feel he'll forever, in some ways, be remembered as the man that missed out in the 2019 World Cup, when, having played for England throughout that build-up, Jofra Archer was then selected when he became available, and David Willey was the man that missed out. And he'll always, in some ways, people will look at that and think, well, for him, what a shame and what an opportunity that he missed out on. But he has a chance here with the T20 World Cup this year. If he has a good series, he could be on that plane.
Yeah, and every game for a player like David Willey matters, to prove your point, to prove you're good enough to play for this England team, or if not, get on the plane at least.
Shirt untucked, David Willey, short sleeves, blonde hair running away from us at the Cathedral Road end. And he's bowling a ball that's spooned up in the air. There's 2 fielders converging upon it, but it'll drop just short. It was David Malan who sprinted in from the boundary edge and couldn't pick up. 91 for 7. I heard Phil Tufnell on television commentary earlier saying David Malan wasn't the quickest across the outfield. And I did think, of all people to say, that seemed to... Look, all I'm saying is...
But you're not passing judgment.
No.
You are.
I am a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
Dananjaya will be on strike. David Willey, who's only conceded, if we're speaking about economy rates, Alex, just 11 from his first 3.1 overs. As we hear the familiar refrain from those inside Sapphire Gardens, this chant that seems to be following football, cricket, everywhere you go. Here comes David Willey then to bowl to the left-handed Dananjaya, who tries to pull a short delivery around the corner. It is signalled wide, and Willey doesn't look overly pleased at that. I think it was one of those where the batsman looked up at the umpire and said,
"Please,
go on."
Please.
It wasn't that short.
We need the run.
It was, well, overhead height, but not wildly so. One more onto the total. 92 for 7. Sri Lanka desperately looking for any runs, however they come, to give themselves the sort of total that they could be able to work with. Fielders in the deep, a deep cover. Deep third, fine leg. At square leg, deep mid-wicket. We've got a mid-on and mid-off, backward point. And Eoin Morgan will be patrolling that area, that short extra cover. Actually, he moves across, moves to mid-wicket. 92 for 7. Dananjaya yet to score a run. He's faced a couple of deliveries as David Willey begins this angled approach. Left arm over. Bowls down the leg side, and Bairstow drops the ball as it flies through. Wide, signals the umpire. 93 for 7.
You often know a team's on top when you're at the death in a whiteboard game. And as a seam bowler, you can have third fine, square leg cover. And there's no fielders in front of square, out on the boundary, apart from this deep cover that we've got. We've got a deep backward square leg, a deep cover. And you just think, no mid-on and mid-off out, we're on top.
Here comes Willey once more, but he's stopping his approach and heads back to his mark as a little bit of an adjustment from Eoin Morgan, who is so meticulous. It's almost sort of entertainment in itself, watching him orchestrate this field as Willey moves into bowl to Dananjaya. It's a better looking ball, which flies off the top half of the bat and running down to backward point for a single. 94 for 7. We've got 10 balls left in the innings.
And even at this stage of the game, Eoin Morgan is being, he's just getting things right. He's got, quite often we see in T20 no mid-wicket and you just give the batters one, but David Willey there, he had a mid-wicket. He had Chris Jordan sort of in between mid-off and extra cover, covering the two places by himself.
As Willey trundles in once more and bowls a full ball which strikes the pads of Udana, who looked to launch the ball somewhere out of Cardiff but missed it entirely. Half an appeal for LBW, but it was never pitching in line. Were you captain the Northwest Thunder in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy? What, in T20 cricket, it is these margins, isn't it? It's sort of minor movements in the field. It
is. You have got to get things right. You've got to get your best fielders in the busiest positions, and you want the people with the best hands at cow corner, deep square leg.
Willey moving in, and that is hit firmly down the ground. That's a nice looking shot, but it won't bring more than a single. Sam Curran runs in and throws left-handed as far as Bairstow at the far end. One more taken. Dananjaya has 1 from 3. Udana 4 from 7. The run rate now is just above 5. 95 for 7.
So you're constantly trying to get your best fielders in the best positions and trying to get things right. Unfortunately for the Northwest Thunder, their captain isn't the best fielder. So I find myself at mid-off.
Here comes David Willey. Slower ball, which is chipped into the offside. Jordan will pick up. 1 run is taken. 96 for 7.
Because you can't really captain from fine leg. So when the 100 comes around, no doubt Kate Cross will be sticking me straight on that fine leg boundary, and probably rightly so as well.
Well, for listeners to the No Balls Cricket Podcast, you dissect in some detail the catch you took the other day in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy, which is on social media. It was spectacular. Here comes David Willey, very full, dug out into the offside. 1 run taken as Morgan moves to his right to pick up. 97 for 7. We've got an over left of the innings. And David Willey finishes 4 overs, none, for a very economical 70.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that catch up, actually, Henry, because I've not spoken about it for at least 4 hours. So it was a belter. So I honestly suggest you go and check it out, because you won't have seen better this season, I swear down. Ben Stokes, he took a decent catch the other night, but it was nothing on Alex Hartley.
Yeah, as Kate Cross pointed out, your teammate, the catch was only required because you didn't move for the first 5 seconds it was in the air.
No, I didn't read it very well. I made a very simple, easy catch look very hard.
Well, it did look spectacular. 97 for 7 is the score here at Sapphire Gardens, with the floodlights shining brightly. We got some high clouds, patches of blue, no threat of rain. And aren't we grateful for that after the fairly chaotic few days at Southampton for the World Test Championship final, won by New Zealand. You can read the report, see the highlights on the BBC Sport website via the cricket section. 6 days it took. The first time a test has gone into the 6th day since 1975 in this country. But we got a result in the end. No danger of rain here, though, as Chris Jordan comes in and bowls the final over. Now that's a good looking shot. Down the ground it goes. It is going to bring a 1 bounce 4. It wasn't necessarily a shot out of the cricketing textbook, but it is effective from Udana, who launches the ball and sees Sri Lanka score move past 100. 101 for 7.
And that's what you want from your tail-enders. They don't have to look like batters, they just have to score runs, and he's gone for the big heave and he's got it over mid-off. And as we spoke about earlier, we've got that, field where England are on top.
There's no protection on the boundary on that part of the ground. There is a fielder at long on as Jordan moves in again. Right arm over, and that's very full dugout. Good delivery at 87 miles an hour. Flying at the toes of Udana. It's another dot ball. 101 for 7.
The ball was then hit out to deep cover and the single was not taken.
So Udana will retain the strike.
Because his strike rate's so good, he thought, I'll have the strike.
There's a remarkable thing on this scorecard. Not a single member of the Sri Lanka side has a strike rate over 100 in this innings. As Jordan moves into bowl to Udana, gives himself some space, hits the ball down the ground without much timing or conviction, but will get a couple of runs of his quick throw. Comes in at the keeper's end, and they're quick enough. That was good running. 103 for 7.
It was good running, and the non-striker knows he's just got to sacrifice his wicket. He has to get down the other end and back up to the bowler's end, even if he's run out, and let his mate have all the strike. If there's any chance of Sri Lanka getting to 110.
Well, it's 103 for 7. We've got 3 balls left of the innings. Jordan is at the end of his mark in this New England T20 kit. Blue and red and all sorts going on as Jordan moves in, and that's hit high in the air. It's gone a mile up and it's gone a mile out of the ground as well. What a shot. Into the river it goes. Well, where did that come from? It has gone a long, long way. 109 for 7.
That's the sort of entertainment we've been after, is what we wanted. Chris Jordan just missing his Yorker length there, bowling in the slot, and up and over mid-off, as we saw previously in the over. Mid-off is up, and we saw the previous boundary go for 4, but that one is out the stadium. And as you said, it's in the river.
Well, it is, and that is a lovely part of this ground here at Sapphire Gardens, is that the River Taff runs behind that stand, and not that far either. And so you don't have to clear the ground by much to be putting the ducks in peril on the river. It's a fairly hefty hit, that from Udana, as a new ball is delivered.
A new ball is delivered, but the old balls come back. So it didn't quite reach the river, and somebody out of the stadium has chucked it back over.
Which is very decent of them, because I always think in that situation, you might pocket it. Right?
They're expensive cricket balls, like 90 quid a pop. I would have definitely kept it.
109 for 7. Udana, well, he now does certainly have a strike rate over 100. And valuable runs at the end of this Sri Lanka innings. Isuru Udana will be on strike, with England, perhaps for the first time in this whole innings, feeling just a little bit of pressure. Jordan running in past the umpire. It's short and chase. That's a good ball. He can do nothing with it as it goes through to Jonny Bairstow. It was one that chased the right-hander. And a dot ball to follow that big 6. 1 ball left of the innings, 109 for 7.
Yeah, that was well bowled by Chris Jordan. He's just missed out on his Yorker length a couple of times in this over. So he's decided to go short and follow the batter, and followed him very well.
Where are the gaps that a boundary could come? Well, again, England have no protection at long off or deep extra cover. There's a deep cover, deep mid-wicket, deep backward square and a fine leg. Fielders up inside the circle in the main in the offside by that fielder at deep cover. Here comes Jordan then, final ball of the innings, and that goes a long way up. Can a fielder get underneath it? Jordan wants it off his own bowling. He says, get out of the way, and he can't quite get there. 3 could have taken it, none did. Chris Jordan is an outstanding fielder, but that was even beyond his remarkable talents. And the innings ends on 111 for 7. Dananjaya 2 not out. Udana with a valuable 19. And a quick thought from you, Alex Hartley, on what sort of a total that could be and whether there's any hope for Sri Lanka in this game.
There is zero hope for Sri Lanka in this game, because England, as I said earlier, they've got such a strong batting lineup. Curran all the way down at number 7. You get a couple of quick wickets. Liam Livingstone opens the batting in county cricket, and he's down at number 6. So this England batting lineup is never ending.
112 will be the England target for listeners on 5 Live Sport. We'll rejoin Eleanor Aldroyd for the day's sports news. And here on 5 Live Sports Extra, we'll have a little reflection on what we've seen over the last hour and a half or so. It was, I think, fair to say, Alex, a fairly grisly time of it with the bat for Sri Lanka. Only one batter scoring above 30. That was Kusal Mendis' 39 at a run a ball. Otherwise, the next highest score, 21 and then a 19. Everyone else in single figures. Yeah,
it was pretty disappointing from Sri Lanka. They had a very good last over. But that was it, we didn't have one exciting over throughout that whole Sri Lanka innings. England were absolutely ruthless with the ball and just kept punching Sri Lanka and picking up wicket after wicket. And Sri Lanka will be incredibly disappointed, but I think that, they might be happy they got to 100 in the end.
Well, that is the lowest score England have conceded when they've bowled the full 20 overs.
Well, there we go. We have it. They were absolutely ruthless, as I said. Every single bowler, picking up wickets, doing their job. It was one in the power play for me for England. They were brilliant in the power play.
Right, let's go through that scorecard, then how it played out. First of all, Sri Lanka won the toss, elected to bat first. Eoin Morgan, the England skipper, said he would have had a bowl, so it was pretty much what people wanted to do, but I think we're fairly certain who's the happier of the two captains. The innings only was worth 6 runs when the first wicket fell. It was that run out from Sam Curran, kicking the stumps down. Gunathilaka gone for 3. Avishka Fernando was caught by Liam Livingstone in the deep off Curran for 6. And then a little bit of a partnership worth 50 runs between Perera and Mendis before Perera was caught by Eoin Morgan off the bowling of Adil Rashid for 21. Mendis went for 39, caught behind of Mark Wood. Niroshan Dickwella made 3, Dasun Shanaka 8, Wanindu Hasaranga 3, and then at the end those useful runs from Isuru Udana, 19 not out from 14, and Akila Dananjaya 2 from 4. As I count up the boundaries in the innings, it won't take me an awfully long time, just 6 in total. 4 4s, 2 6s, and that was all that was possible for Sri Lanka. In terms of the bowling figures, well, these make slightly more impressive reading. David Willey, 4 overs, none for 17. Sam Curran, 2 overs, 1 for 8. But he did affect that run out as well. Chris Jordan, 4 overs, 1 for 31. Liam Livingstone, 2 overs, none for 10. Mark Wood, 4 overs, 2 for 18. Adil Rashid, 4 overs, 2 for 24. So that is the state of play. 112 will be the England target. A reminder, the lowest score England have conceded when they've bowled the full 20 overs. Russell Arnold watching on in Sri Lanka, former Sri Lanka player. That we talked about ahead of this game, 150, 155 being pretty much what Sri Lanka would need. What have you made of the last hour and a half?
It's an hour and a half that you probably want to forget. It actually had me a little bit excited in the first over because we saw something that we didn't see in the first game, and we also felt that the Sri Lankan batsmen need to do. That's to rotate strike. That's to drop and run if it's a good ball rather than just keep trying to hit it hard and just find the fielder. But in the very next over, they overdid it. It's about getting that balance right between picking singles and looking for the boundaries. The first 6 overs, there were no boundaries scored, and the innings just went nowhere at all. Of course, you've got to give credit to England. They were very, very good. No breathing space at all. But technically speaking, Sri Lankan batsmen were hit high on the bat on many occasions. Even though they were playing off the back foot or front foot, it didn't make a difference. So you'd have thought they would have improved from the first game, but it's actually a lot worse if you'd look at it in that sense.
And what element of it is worse? I mean, obviously the score is lower, but what about the approach, the technique for you is less impressive?
It's the approach. There didn't seem to be any balance in attack and in rotating strike, as I did mention. In the middle overs, once those first 2 wickets fell after that run out, they seemed confused about how to go about their innings. It was only later on, probably the 11th or 12th over, that even the 2 set batsmen, Kusal Mendis and Kusal Perera, even tried to find the boundary. I think it was in the 8th over that Sri Lanka got their first boundary. So that is the disappointing thing, the thought process in how you're going to accumulate these runs.
There's been a lot of talk, Russell, about the players that aren't in this side. Of course, the greats that have now retired, Sangakkara, Jai Warner, and also more recently, Lasith Malinga and Angelo Matthews. There is this vacuum, if you like, in the Sri Lanka side. Do you see anything from the 11 that are playing in this game where you think, yeah, there is the hope that they could turn this round and become a side that has a little bit more about them come the World Cup in the autumn?
Well, it's all about the thinking. It's all about the approach. The top three, they can hit a ball. They are very, very good when they get going. But how are you going to get going? Now, don't forget that England are the number one T20 side. They are very good. They got depth and they know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to let you breathe. So you have to be able to deal counter punches if you want to at least not actually win, but compete with England. And Sri Lanka just unable to do that. You spoke about the senior players. Malinga retired. I mean, the others, it's 6-7 years since they moved on. So we're still looking for those types of players, and it is a real struggle. But Angelo Matthews, he's still around. But the other factor, the other side of it is Sri Lanka are ranked number 8, actually 8 and 9 in all three formats of the game. That's where Sri Lanka have looked to move on from those senior players like Matthews to try and find younger players who can actually make a difference. So you do need to give them time, but you actually need to see a little bit more of game awareness, if I put it that way.
Well, Russell, it's worth pointing out that in 2013, New Zealand were ranked number 8 in the world, and yesterday they became World Test champions. So these things can move quite quickly, but you do sense that this team could perhaps do with a little bit of a confidence boost.
Yes, and that has to come from within. It's easy to come up with lots of lines, cliches, say the coach needs to do this or the environment. Yes, everyone has a part to play, but actually it comes from within yourself as a player, I would say, to start with. One special performance, especially in a T20 game, a top order batsman making an 80 or a 90 makes that difference, brings that confidence about you, and suddenly the rest of the players start clicking around you. A couple of games like that, and it's a whole new world, and 75% to 80% of the troubles that you see tend to disappear.
These things can change very quickly. Russell Arnold, thank you for the time being. We'll hear more from Russell as we go through not just this game, but also this T20 series. And it's brilliant to have Russell's contributions giving the perspective of, well, an understandably frustrated Sri Lankan perspective, Alex Hartley, because you look at the scorecard and you talk about the mentality. And can you see that when you look out there, what Russell's talking about?
Yeah, definitely. Quite often you learn from your biggest defeats in cricket, and you go out and you try and rectify things, and we thought briefly that Sri Lanka had learnt from last night, but it didn't last very long, and their middle order and tail order then were just going out swinging, and as I was saying on air, just not looking for the ones and twos and trying to find that boundary and swinging far too hard, and you know, England bowlers consistently beating the bat. It was quite frustrating to watch, really. And
a word on England's bowling just before we get underway in the second innings, because the umpires are heading to the middle, as are Sri Lanka's fielders. It looks like England have, and bearing in mind there's no Ben Stokes or Jofra Archer, an extraordinary wealth in the bowling department to go alongside what they've got with the bat. Yeah,
they do. You know, they've bowled seamers first up, in swingers, away swingers, bowlers that can bowl short. They literally have everything. We talk about having bowlers with a lot of variation and a bowling attack that provides lots of different things in case different scenarios come up, and England were just ruthless with the ball today,